Hi everyone, I'm Craig Brown, Head of Media Delivery at Incubator US. I'm here today with Samir Banerjee, Marketing Director of Golden Nugget Online Gaming. Golden Nugget are one of the premier online operators in the sports betting and online casino space. We partnered with them at the start of the year, starting with New Jersey and then launching in Michigan their sports betting and online casino products. We work with them predominantly across the Google ecosphere, across Google Ads, YouTube TV, as well as the Google Marketing Platform. And we're going to speak to Samir today about some of his thoughts on where the iGaming space is going. So thank you for joining us today, Samir. We're very excited to speak to you. Let's jump straight in with some of the questions that we're going to discuss. So given the past year or so, more than that now, and the changes we've seen, what are your thoughts on the current nature of digital marketing in the iGaming industry?
Thank you, Craig, and thanks for having me here. So a lot has changed, of course, in the iGaming industry. I mean, when I started off here 5 years ago, we were a one-state operator for the Golden Nugget, just operational in the state of New Jersey. Fast forward 2-3 years, and with the sports betting legislation being passed on a federal level, I think it's opened up the states. So digital marketing, of course, it's a platform that supports anything to do with the digital landscape, and online gaming and online sports betting is, of course, part of that whole realm. So we've seen a lot happening here. Of course, from year one, when we started off, there were 8 operators in the space. Today, it's gone up to 25, 26, probably even more than that. They're breaking up into smaller groups as well. And of course, we're expanding into different states. So from a digital marketing standpoint, of course, now with Google certifying our spend on their platform, which was not available earlier, with the likes of Facebook picking up the pace when it comes to promoting online gambling as well as online sports betting. I think the digital landscape has changed a bit there, and it's making it a lot more competitive. I think today it all comes down to being smart about how you spend the money, because it's completely opened up all possibilities on the digital mediums.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and maybe COVID accelerated this, but seeing the way that Google and Facebook have really accelerated their growth in this industry as well, the teams that they're putting together and the real focus that they've put on this. I mean, they're big businesses. They always follow the money. And as you said, with the competition, there's certainly a lot here, but there's a huge spotlight on this in so much more than just what we see as operators and agencies.
I mean, Google's always been one of the biggest. I mean, it's a source where you have to go after. I mean, not just the online gaming industry. I don't care what industry you're in. I think Google plays a massive part in our day-to-day lives. It's funny because it's when it started off early in the 2000s or late 90s. I mean, we looked at it as something like who would click on text ads, and then today it is our go-to for everything. I mean, it's become a word that is part of our search, a day-to-day search to look for things and all of it. I'm actually glad Google's jumped on the bandwagon and allowing online gambling ads to run on their mediums, and then also expanding that across their app install platforms, their YouTube platforms, their display platforms. So it's actually helped us actually reach a wider audience. I mean, you have to understand one thing: this is still a very new industry. I mean, it was born in 2013. I mean, we're looking at 7.5 years old. And people still do not trust, and they still need to be educated on what online gaming is all about, what online sports betting is all about. There's a development of trust. There's a development of knowing that a computer-generated game is actually very similar to the one that you may go down and play at a land-based casino. And I think that's where I'm actually appreciating the fact that Google's come in and said that let's advertise so we can actually inform the people, and not just bring them to one operator to another operator, but just to understand that the online gaming industry is legit in the US, and it's now regulated by certain states, and it takes away from venturing upon gray market sites which are still existing in the US.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you bringing up Google with that, the emphasis that Google is starting to put on data science and automation and machine learning that I don't think any of us can get away from. 5 years ago, I probably still thought that I could just about beat a machine learning algorithm from a bidding basis. I don't even pretend that I can do that anymore. As you said, this is still a new industry, but it is also a very data-rich industry. The data that we can collect is huge. What are your thoughts on how we can, as an industry, as a partnership, get slightly better at using that data to make better decisions?
So, I mean, so currently, I think you're right. You're hitting the nail right on the head. Data. It's all about data, and it's interesting because on the digital world, we have the data journey. We can collect all the data from the first time someone actually clicks on, let that be a search engine like Google, coming onto the site, and then the journey through the site itself, through the different funnels, all the way till they make the registration, till they make the deposit, till how they play. And it's all that data is what can actually drive what we learn about the consumer, but most importantly, how we can actually serve that consumer in the needs that they want. I mean, when you were to walk into a casino, let that be a land-based casino, for example, I mean, what attracts you there? Is it the big jackpots? Are they the themed games or slot games? Are you just looking for who's giving you the biggest car? So, I mean, these are physical pieces that you see, you get attracted to. It's a human psyche that basically walks into a casino, says, I want to do this. But then you have the true gambler who knows the kind of games that they're going after. They know they want to be sitting on a table playing blackjack or roulette. And here it comes to the same piece with Google as well. Like, we know what people are searching for. They're either searching for online table games, online slot games. Maybe they have a favorite. And it could be as simple as a name as well. Like, maybe it's an Asian themed game like Funan Fudu or 88 Fortunes. They see that at the casino. They want to see who's got that online. And these are the kind of like keywords that basically drive the data that come through. It also helps us market our casino on Google. So when you have these search fields coming through, we know what we're looking for, what to anticipate, and then what to go after. And again, there's multiple things. I'm only talking about the casino side of things. You also have to take a look at the other side of it, which is responsible gaming, making sure that that players are aware that this is a regulated casino. We have different deposit methods, withdrawal methods. We promote responsible gaming. We also push cool-off periods for people who think they've been playing too much. And there's a lot on an online casino. And I think when someone searches for something on Google, for example, it can lead them to the right spot. And taking all those data learnings can actually help you drive that particular consumer into the right place so they feel comfortable when they're actually on the site.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it takes me nicely on to the second question, Samir, which is, we've talked about the competition and it being a very packed vertical and how quickly that's grown, particularly over the last 2 years as well. And you talked about the responsible gaming side of things as well, and the responsibility that we all have to ensure that this is sustainable for everybody. How does Golden Nugget differentiate itself from its competitors to set themselves up for success and ensure that their customers are safe and protected and also having a good experience as well?
Looking for the secret sauce, Craig?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No, so that's. I mean, it's simple, right? I mean, we are a casino. We've been an iconic casino. We know the brand really works for us. We've been on Fremont Street since 1946. It's the iconic Golden Nugget signed in Las Vegas, and now we are a brand that's online. I mean, we want to make sure that our customers, our players, always have the real casino experience. That's what we strive on. We want to make sure that we are innovating at all times, upping our features at all times. I mean, we were the first in America to introduce Live Dealer. This was back in 2016 with New Jersey. Built a studio from the ground up in our Atlantic City location, and we basically said, "Hello, America! This is what Live Dealer is all about. You can actually play Live Dealer on the phone." I mean, these are the kind of features. These are the kind of forward thinking on our features or products on the games that we can offer our consumers that actually make it very, very. It actually helps us differentiate from the competition. I'm not saying the competition doesn't have that, but yes, we are thinking one step ahead. We're trying to be at least trying to get our consumers to have a real gaming or a real casino-like experience on our sites as well. You did touch upon the competition. Yes, we have seen a lot of competition. Competition has grown tremendously over the last couple of years. We've seen some of the European big hitters coming into the market now. I mean, let that be for sports betting or for online casino. There may be many more coming in as well. I think what we just have to do is we have to just stick to what we know best, and just make sure that we deliver a really good product for our patrons. Now that said, I mean, you also did mention the fact that how do we differentiate? I mean, as I gave you a couple of good examples on some of the innovative products that we could be coming up with, but we also try to make things a lot more easier. Let that be easy deposits, easy withdrawals, really good customer service, making sure the customer service is at someone's beck and call in a few seconds. Let that be answering let that be a technical difficulty, or let that be, hey, I don't know what to play, or how do I play this, whatever it may be. On top of all of that, of course, we just want to make sure that we have a large library of games. I mean, we have the largest in New Jersey. Similarly, as we expand into the different states, we want to make sure that we have the availability of different slots, different table games available to our patrons. That's it. Just striving to be the best casino that we can be for our patrons is what Golden Nuggets differentiating is all about.
Yeah, you definitely brought up some really good points, and I think a few of them are why we enjoy working with Golden Nugget so much. The first is that innovation side of things. As an agency, we're always looking to strive for that as well. Again, it's a different industry, but it's the same. It's very competitive. Finding those edges and that innovation and being the first to market with things is always a way to stay ahead of the game and bring partnerships forward. And the other point is making the consumer's life easier. And sometimes I think marketing can be severely overcomplicated, and people forget that you just need to make your customers and the consumer's life as easy as possible. And we spend a lot of time at Incubator talking about the consumer journey and how are people thinking and how are people interacting, and there is no substitute for data, but sometimes it's just that gut feel and that common sense element of, well, how do people behave on the platform? Is this going to be something that inspires them?
Exactly. And it goes back to what you mentioned earlier as well. I mean, it's all about data, correct? I mean, even Incubator is probably looking at the data that Google's bringing in, looking at the back end of our campaigns in this case. Taking a look at where people are coming from, that be a geolocation, that be from a certain part of a certain time of day, learning what the habits are, time spent on site, and then of course with shared data from the operator like us, for example, you can get to know what games people play, and I think you can actually make a very good, compelling data story there to basically say, okay, this is what we're seeing in terms of traffic coming through. And it's just, as I said, it's not just about spending money to bring people in. It's about spending money to bring the right people in. And I think that's one of the big things where, and that's where we look at you as an organization to help us, because you've been in the online gaming and sports betting industry for a while. You've seen how it's functioned in Europe, and now you're bringing that to the US, and you're bringing your learnings from there, including in the US with some of your other clients as well. And you're bringing those learnings into how to optimize and develop a very strong conversion campaign.
Yeah, and what we've learned in Europe is definitely helping us with the US brands, and it's it's interesting seeing a lot of the European brands now start to come over, and there's two ways of doing it. Some of them are partnering with some of the existing well-known US brands, and others are trying to launch their own brands. And it's going to be an interesting battle, that, because it's been around in Europe for so much longer than it's been in the US from an online casino, online sports side of things. There's a huge data backlog that they have. But one of the things I learned transitioning from the UK to the US is that this market behaves very differently. While people are people, the US consumer is very different to the European consumer. And it's going to be interesting to see. We've now got the learnings of working with brands like Golden Nugget of this is how the US consumer behaves. It's going to be really interesting to see how the European brands approach this and whether they make mistakes because they assume consumers are going to be the same.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, and that's I think that's a key for it. It's like developing good partnerships such as this to basically take it forward and then learn. Of course, not learn just for us from an operator standpoint, but also learn from you as a marketing standpoint. I mean, it works hand in hand to make sure that we can be successful in the different things that we want to do.
It definitely does. And so finally, Samir, what does the future look like for Golden Nugget? What's the vision for the rest of this year? I can't believe we're almost halfway through this year already, but the rest of this year and going into the future years.
Yeah, so things have been coming hard for us for sure. I mean, as I mentioned, we were a one-state operator all the way till about late last year. In January, we launched in Michigan. We have plans of expanding into 3 different states in the next few months: West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. I think we don't have a set timeline yet, but we should be entering those markets shortly. We do have a couple of other markets in play for the remainder of 2021 and early 2022. I mean, our goal is to at least be in 8 to 12 markets by the end of 22. Of course, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in that space. So, I mean, with the news coming out, with other people moving into as and when markets regulate, I guess, and they start passing laws to allow online gaming and online sports betting, we definitely will be a part of those conversations as well. It does take a little bit of an effort to get into those markets, but I can almost assure you we're doing everything we can on our end to get there. There are some big markets on the horizon. So I think that our teams work on the right path forward, but we definitely have that in our scope ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Do we think we're going to see a greater influx considering the financial pressures that are going to be put on the states following the last couple of years? Like, I think everybody's seen the numbers that come out of New Jersey in terms of the tax money that they make on this. Do we think states are going to see this as an opportunity to restock the coffers slightly, considering the pressures that they've been under over the past sort of 12 to 18 months?
It comes back. I mean, let's say if we were to take all of us take a step back and we take a look at the lottery, it was a massive revenue driver for every state. I mean, this is just adding on to that. And I mean, I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but we're looking at millions of dollars in terms of revenue, hundreds of millions of dollars that you're looking to put on that could be on the table.
Yeah.
So I do not see why it should. I mean, the pressure should be there. I mean, I understand it's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot of there's days and weeks and years that go into actually building the proper regulations and the laws that go behind allowing online gaming, online sports betting to be live in the state. But I can definitely see that happen sooner rather than later. And I think with the sports betting influx that started in 2018, I think that's going to be the first driver. I mean, you're probably going to see a lot of states actually approve online sports betting and then followed by online casino and then go from there. So let's see. I mean, the pressure is on the state legislators, and hoping that we can actually slowly grow and capture all 50 states.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting few years, and
it definitely is.
For us as a partnership, we're very excited to be a part of that. We've we've seen great success since we've launched in Michigan at the start of this year, following on from New Jersey. And I think we've got a good template now to launch in these additional states and really ramp things up quickly. I think we've got a good mix and we know what's going to work, which is going to make a huge difference as these states open, and as a partnership we can maximize on the opportunity there.
Completely agree. And again, I like the fact that Inkybet has been taking it on a one state by state approach. I think it's not looking at a holistic view at a campaign, for example. I think looking at each state's needs, looking at where we are in the growth of that state is key. As you just mentioned, we've been live in New Jersey for almost 7 years now. Michigan, about 5 months now, entering our 6th month. So we're looking at different stages in a marketing cycle and an operational cycle. And I think Inkybet has been on top of really on top of their game to understand that this is how we got to approach each of these states. They've been very the team has been very helpful in basically drawing a roadmap of how we want to start off with and go through, that be a new state like Michigan or an already existing market like New Jersey, telling us what we should be looking for in terms of our key successes, how we can actually achieve some of our KPIs, and then again, optimizing. And that's the way we move forward. So it's definitely been it's been a great pleasure for the past 6 months trying to put all that together.
And Pennsylvania is going to be the next interesting one. Michigan was obviously a new market to everybody when we launched. Pennsylvania is going to be a more interesting one where it's been established for 12 to 18 months now, and we're entering the market quite late, and that brings its own nuances, which is definitely going to be interesting. We need to grow the Golden Nugget brand, and Golden Nugget is here, whereas when we launched in Michigan, it's very much, hey, sports betting online casino is here, you should consider this, and it's a industry awareness. Whereas going into Pennsylvania, I think most of PA is very aware that this is on the table. So for us, it's about focusing on our own brand and on our own thing, rather than us trying to help grow the industry overall. And for us, that's always an interesting one, is in these lesser known industries. You mentioned the consumer concerns earlier and the skepticism that can be around it. There's a industry-wide responsibility at times to sort of club together to grow. This is the overall industry because it benefits all of us, while still trying to maintain this is our brand, this is what we need to grow because we want to capture as much of the market as possible. And it's definitely an interesting balance, and I think if we look at Michigan's results, we're starting to strike. So it's definitely going to be an exciting 3 months as Michigan continues to evolve, as we continue to tweak New Jersey, and then as we launch in Pennsylvania, and then the Virginias as well.
Exactly. And I'm glad you guys are up to the challenge, because we're definitely there as well.
Yeah, it's always fun. We love a challenge, and we love the data as well. Like, that's a huge part. For me, this industry is so interesting because there is so much data. And you mentioned it's not just the data in the run-up in the consumer journey to conversion. It's all of the data that comes after that. As you said, it's not about acquiring anybody. It's about the right customers. And if you can get those higher value customers, the growth that we can then push forwards is astronomical as well.
Agreed.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Samir. We know you're a busy man, and we really appreciate it. It's been great speaking to you.
Thank you, Craig. And again, thanks again for having me on this.